Hi everyone, Paul here. Welcome back to the channel. This is another Unreal Engine tutorial. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to my channel. In my previous video, we learned about how to use the game instance. This is used to persist data values when switching through levels. You can check that out in the description below. In this video, we're going to learn how to persist the data by saving, so when you exit the game, the last saved data is loaded back. Let me show you a quick demo. In this demo, we have a simple goal. You're going to save the player's location in the world. So I have a button here, binded. When I hit the O key, I have this menu shown to me, and I can hit the save game. I can hit the back button, and I could resume playing. But when I escape or stop the game, and I hit the play button again, I'm spawned back or loaded from my last save location. So I could move to another location, this time over here, hit the O key, save the game, and hit back, stop, then play the game. You can see I'm loaded back to that same location. So on your file directory as well, under save game, there's a save game here, and this save file. So this file is your data file. So if I delete this data file and go back to the game and hit play, now I'm back to the original position because there's no data save. So let's go ahead and learn how I built this. So starting with a third person map, open up the content drawer. Let's create a couple of folders here. Say blueprints, and another folder called UI. So under the blueprints folder, right click and select blueprint class and search for save game. I'm just going to call this BP save game. Open it up, and here we want to create a variable. So the variable is where the data that you would like to store or save. So here I'm gonna say player transform location and with a type of transform. So you could store multiple variables here if you like, but here I just have one variable that I want to save. So I'm gonna save that, go back to my content drawer, and let's build that UI. So first, right click here and select user interface, select widget blueprint, and select user widget. I'm gonna call this WB and say save game. Open that up. So let's quickly mock this UI up. So I'm gonna add a canvas panel, gonna add a button. I'm gonna anchor in the middle, reset those, change this to 0.5, 0.5, change this size X to 200, and then 50, and add a text in here, drag it in there, change this to save. Also back at the button, just for naming, I'm gonna call this save button. Gonna move this a little bit up like so. Gonna select this, Control D to duplicate it, and I'm just gonna move this like so, and this one I'm gonna call back button, and for the text I'm just gonna say back. Cool. Now here on this button, select it and go under the events and select on click. This should show up. So first thing we want to do here is check if there is a save game. So the save game exists and it's asking for a slot. If you recall, the file name that we deleted started with 0, so that is this one. So I'm gonna promote this to a variable. Just quickly compile. So this slot would be 0, slot 0. We're gonna use that again later. So if there's a game, save game exists, we're gonna do a branch here. So if it exists, first is we want to load that game. So if it's true, we want to say load game from slot, and the slot would be the slot we just created, so slot 0. So if there's an existing slot, it's going to return back the save game object. So we want to promote this as well, and it's going to be save game ref, and want to set that like so. And then we want is to cast this to the BP save game. So cast to BP save game. Then we want to get the player location, the character. So get player character. We want to get the get actor transform. And then from here we want to set player transform location. And we're going to plug it like that. Once that is set on that game instance, we want to save the game. So save game to slot. This would be the reference, and the slot name would be the slot name we just created. So let me move those a little bit to make them readable. And then we want to print string and say save successful, like so. So back here, if the game does not exist, what if there's no game? So there's no slot 1 here. So what we want is we want to create save game, a save game object, and we want to create from the BP save game that we created, and then we want to set that value back to that save ref. So I'm just gonna call set save game reference, and I'm gonna hook that back up in here. So if there's no save game, create a save game object and then hook that back, cast that back to the save game and do the same thing. So that's what we're gonna do there. So I'm gonna save that. So next, go back to the content drawer, look for the third person blueprint, BP third person character, and we want to create a couple items here. So first, let's call that widget that we just created. So right click and search for the O key. So when I press the O key here, I want to create a widget, which is that WB save game, and then want to add that to the viewport. We also want to get the player controller and set the mouse cursor to true. And we also want to set the input mode. So input mode to UI only. Hook that up like so. Create a reroute node here. Cool. Save. Back. And when I now hit play here and hit the O key, I could now save, but the back button is not binded, but the save should be working. Now I said save successful. So let's go back to that HUD and quickly set this up. And from here, I want to say remove from parent and get player controller. I want to set back the mouse cursor to false, and I want to set the input mode to game and UI. Cool. And hit save. Let's try it again. Now let's see if I go here and hit O and hit save, I should get that save successful. And we haven't built the loading part yet, but if I go to my file directory here, and I should see that save game is created there. So when I exit here and play again, it should start from wherever it started. So we need to do something to load the game. So back to the third person character here, let's create a function. Let's call this load game. And from here, we simply want to check if the game exists. So does game exists? Cool. And this should be slot 0. And if it exists, we're gonna do a branch. And if it's true, we wanna load game from slot. So that would be 0. And then the return value would be the return value we're gonna cast it. So cast to BP save game, and from here we're gonna grab the player location, get player location, transform location, then we're gonna set this to the current actor. So here set actor transform, and that will be that location, and that should be it. So when I hit save, go back to event begin play. At the very end of event begin play, we call that load game function we just created. Save, compile, let's test it out. So when I hit play here, I should be spawning from the last save location. Cool. So it's working. Let's give it another go. Hit O in here, save. That should override the last location. Stop the game, play, and I'm back here. Cool. So that's how you use the save and the save game blueprint to use for saving and loading your game. So hope you learned something here. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Please subscribe to my channel.